It almost feels to me that the reason we got so much Thai fan service of her doing a bunch of ridiculous and hilarious things was to actually prepare us for the drama that was going to come by the end of the episode. And while sure, I mean, this group's pretty strong, all things considered, maybe everything will work out, but a part of me is kind of hoping that we do get into some pretty dramatic territory, because there would be so many interesting stories to tell if someone like I actually went back to Iron Frill. Now, some people might want to say, and even the voices inside my head are saying, wait, this doesn't make sense, why would she even want to go back? But when you used to be a top lead singer of this amazingly popular idol group, and you're getting the offer to go back a second time, there's gotta be a part of you that wishes to accept, and I'm curious to see if a character like Kotaro would actually encourage it, because if you think about it, right, drama in any sort of music industry promotes far more publicity than everyone holding hands. Imagine if one of their group left to join an opponent group, right, Iron Frill. What type of news articles and press would kind of like latch on the paparazzi, right? There's a lot of ways that I could see something like that happening, but I could equally see her declining it. But a part of me wonders, if she is just going to outright decline it, what's the purpose of introducing this plot point other than maybe watching her, surpass Iron Frill without actually just taking the easy route out? Still, it's something that intrigues me, and a part of me is kind of hoping that we do go super dramatic, because as much as I like everyone working together, it would make sense if she did have an urge to even attempt to go back there, but at the same time, would she really want to burn those bridges? It could very well easily have no drama at all, but they definitely laid out their cards to potentially go that route, and with Junko, a character who was very successful as a solo artist, now pretty much tasked with having to do everything by herself, but also at the same time support a group. It's a lot of things for a character like her to deal with. Someone like I is a natural born leader, but because she's so familiar to that of, the deceased I, she has to sit her time out because we don't want her to be recognized. And that could be a very easy way for her to actually want to quit and maybe pursue other things, I don't know. But I think a character like Junko, who's doing her best, studying everything, recognizing that there isn't enough time to get good enough to be an opening act without being even laughed at or just completely ignored. There's a lot of interesting elements at play, and I was actually surprised by the direction I would say probably the second half of this episode went, because the first half was pretty damn fun. It was cute, it was goofy. I truly feel like we heard more Thai in this episode than we might have heard with every episode up until this point. She was grunting, she was beating on a pail as a drum, she had a lot of insane moments. And as much as people, myself included, are hoping for Tai to eventually wake up, the character I think that has the biggest potential, but also has had the biggest missed opportunity so far is Yuguri. I mean, she's without a doubt more sidelined than any character in the show so far, and I'm hoping by the time season 2 wraps up, we get some good focus in on her, because I think there's a lot of potential with her character, and I really hope she's not just gonna be that kind of character who stands by, works at a bar, things like that. I really feel like she could become one of my favorites in the show, and I'm hoping the series does something with her, because you can definitely see this being a show lasting past season 2 for sure. I mean, some people said, what if they do a movie? What if they do a season 3 then a movie? Obviously, the show's not going to end in season 2 just for money reasons alone, but I also don't think it's going to last as long as something like Love Live, and if it does, it will probably be new characters and things like that. Still though, there's a lot of potential with what they laid out here, and honestly, if they don't go dramatic, I'm curious what will be the hook, because right now the formula that we're currently looking at is the group trying their best to get new supporting acts to eventually rebuild their name, hopefully probably get a shot like they had at the end of season 1 there, and maybe not blow it. They have to improve their dancing, their singing, all these different things. There's a lot of things they have to work on, but what's the true hurdle that they have to face besides time? And that's a good hurdle, because is their bodies decaying? Is that part of Kotaro's plan? Like, he only has a certain amount of time before they decay and die. There's a lot of things that could be dramatic, but I really think with what they laid out here, it has my mind racing, and even if she doesn't full on leave, I do think that opportunity to go back to the group from where you came from is enough to make her even fumble or something like that. I definitely enjoyed Kotaro's moments in this episode. I loved the bleeping when he was swearing. I think a good bleep over any sort of profanity can be a really funny way to make swearing all the more ridiculous, and especially considering that, we're watching right now simulcast in the Japanese dub, right? So even when they do swear, it's not going to be as profound as when we hear it in our native tongue, right? So having the bleeps just adds a little extra oomph, I feel like, and I really, really enjoy that. And I mean, just the water gun fights, there was just so much absurd. But yeah, I mean, for an episode that I really thought was going to be fun, I mean, it was pretty clear that we're probably going to focus on Ai and Junko a lot, which is good. I think they're kind of like very similar yet complete opposites. One natural born leader of a group, one who's a natural born solo artist, and kind of like having it flip-flopped, having the leader of an idol group have to be pushed to the side for the time being, and having the solo artist have to kind of control everyone, and everyone knows they're not good enough yet and how hard she's studying. There's just a lot of nice, well-written elements while simultaneously being some of the silliest we've seen. I think one of the best examples is when she's performing on the roof, she's doing her song there, and you have our girl come up, her head rips off, her body's climbing up, and as they're having this emotional conversation, you'll just see her body like scrape down the roof, and it's like, this show definitely knows how to use the zombie gimmick as funny comedy things, where you can have this natural drama idol-like conversation as a zombie body's just trying to reattach its head. It's the simple things that make Zombieland Saga, I think, definitely stick out. The characters are all pretty well written, and even the ones who may not have had that much chance to shine yet, like Yuguri or something like that, they still have potential, and they still add an element to the group, even if it is just a singing voice in the group. Based on how they're progressing the characters, sure, some have definitely had more progression than others, but it does feel like by the time Zombieland Saga does conclude, whether it will be Season 2, whether it will be a movie of Season 3, it doesn't matter. By the time it wraps up, I truly feel like every character will have an arc that feels open and closed, and hopefully this group and whatever the Saga dream is will also come to a satisfying end before probably having some sort of emotional goodbye. I would honestly be shocked if these characters actually make it by the end of the series, because it does feel like, because they're zombies and because there's a time limit, a natural decaying zombie body is the most likely scenario. But then again, Zombieland Saga has proven to be able to have twists and turns. What if it's something bigger or simpler? Who knows, right? They have ways of doing comedy and drama, and sometimes it's a bit of both, as we saw with this week's episode. The one thing that was actually kind of interesting in this episode is, for whatever reason, I was assuming that we might see more songs and dances, and sure, we saw the TV performances and things like that, and the only real musical moment, I think, was the rooftop scene, which was a beautiful song. I'd love to hear the full track of that. It sounds really, really sweet, and it kind of gives me that impression of it's a complete opposite style song than you would normally associate with a group like this. But I am hoping that maybe once we get into like the opening acts for obviously Iron Frill and things like that, we get more moments. Because last week I thought was great with what they were able to do with the music. And that's really the only thing that I feel like is missing so far in Season 2 is more of those powerful, dramatic, like just, oh my god, I can't believe the song that we're hearing. It's so different, it's so unique. And it kind of does make sense why we haven't had as much of that, given their, they rose to success, crashed and burned, and now they are still struggling to see if they can compete with some of the big dogs. But it does have me like really eagerly waiting for more. Like, we've had good musical moments, but not to the same degree as Season 1, right? But I think that's part of the plot and the reason why we are still trying to build up their self-confidence again, because we need to make them feel like they've earned it. So that's the one thing I'm interested in, and hopefully by episodes 4 or 5, we're going to get that one moment that just reshapes what we think of the group, and we're already like hoping to hear the full song of whatever they just sung, right? That's just one thing I've been thinking about. I'm curious to see what they'll be able to do with the songs and how they'll hopefully be able to top what we heard in Season 1. Overall, though, it has me excited, and I am glad that we are spicing up the focus and what we're doing with the cast this season, and I think if they continue on, I think it'll be just as good, if not slightly better than what Season 1 delivered. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your favorite moment, and what do you think is going to happen with Ai and Junko here? Because there's a lot of drama possibilities. Do you think they're actually going to commit to it? Or do you think they're actually going to, we're going to keep the group together, nothing like that's going to happen, and there might be another type of drama or no drama at all? If you enjoyed the video, of course, you like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you're happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.